Welcome back. It's the NFC South. Oh my Brett, you've got a pretty mouth. Welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richie, and I brought some company. I've got my friend Brett Bandick and my guy, Michael Zappi. This is a division that, for the most part, should not be all too intriguing in terms of who the ultimate winner is. But what does make this division intriguing at the same time is that Tom Brady plays in it. And there are a lot of records that can be falling down yet again with the great one. We are going to start from the bottom, as we always do in these division previews, and work our way up to the top. And we've got our last place team, the Carolina Panthers, finished at the bottom of this division. Very disappointing quarterback play from Sam Darnold last year. They added Baker Mayfield. Cleveland is paying for most of that. Xavier Woods, safety. I like that move. I also like the addition of Ikem Ekwonu. I spelled that wrong. My apologies. Quarterback Matt Corral. Linebacker Brandon Smith out of Penn State University. Who wants this first? Either one of you, feel free to jump in. I'm going to give you my thought on them when you guys are done speaking.
Well, I don't think Carolina is going to be last in the division this year. I think Atlanta is going to take full control over that. I think Carolina will be a strong 4-13. So I don't possibly 5 wins. I don't know. Possibly 5 wins. It depends on the health of McCaffrey, but yeah, I don't see Carolina going very far. I really don't. I think Baker will get I don't think he's going to get the starting job. I think he'll roll in, week 5, week 6 maybe. But in that division, the way that team is set up right now, they're not set up for success. I can tell you that.
Well, let me ask you quickly, Bretsky. Do you believe that Christian McCaffrey will actually play a full 17 or at least more than 10?
I'm hoping for 10.
I'm hoping that he just plays.
He hasn't played a full season since he came in the league. From my understanding, I don't think he has. So he gets hurt every year. The past couple of years he's been a fantasy risk, but I don't have enough faith in the guy to play a full season. I really don't.
Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold, who's going to be your starter?
Starter week 1?
Yeah.
Darnold. I think Darnold.
I'm gonna go Mayfield.
Yeah, I'm
so
50-50.
I mean, Carolina's one of those hard teams to judge right now. If you think back to last year, first of all, they lost Christian McCaffrey. He came back and then he was out again. Chuba Hubbard, he did a really good job filling in for him. So a lot of their season is going to lie on Christian's legs. I think because of the fact that Chuba Hubbard came out and actually performed pretty well for a rookie, I think it's going to allow them to take the load off of Christian McCaffrey. Secondly, we got to remember, guys, these guys started off 3-0 last year with great defensive play and good play from Darnold at the quarterback position. As soon as CMC goes out, then Darnold started to decline, and then everything started declining from there. This team went 3-0 to 5-12. That shows you how big of a loss CMC was. So, as far as Baker and Sam Darnold, I mean, if you look at what's going on in camp right now, you could tell Baker Mayfield is taking off with it. Matt Corral has actually been the one that's been surprising a lot of people and turning a lot of heads right now. No, he's not going to be the starter week 1, but it's a simple way to say that if come week 11, this team is already out of the playoff race, they're going to put Matt Corral in there, and they know that both the Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield experiments failed. So, but week 1, I do believe Baker Mayfield will be the starter. Looking at this team's schedule, they have a rough schedule.
They got a tough schedule.
Games,
yeah,
I mean, it's hard to find a lot of wins on there. I mean, even if their defense continues to play at the defensive possibility we know, I mean, they were number 2 in the league last year. So defensively, we know they're going to be fine. Not to mention they're getting J.C. Horn back. So, I mean, that's another rookie that did not play last year. So that's another big defensive player coming in. I mean, I want to say the Panthers are going to be a 7-win team. But then when I actually sit down and look at their away games, it's hard to find it. So I'm going to go with 6 wins. I have them finishing 3rd in the division as well. But a lot of it's going to come down to two key factors. How does CMC do? Does he stay healthy for more than 10 games? And does Baker Mayfield, with the change of scenery, with a brand new city, new receiving core, new coaches, everything you could think of, does he come back and perform to the Baker Mayfield we saw a couple of years ago, or is he going to be the Baker of last year? I mean, obviously, that whole Cleveland franchise is a big dysfunctional problem, and Baker needed out of there. So it might resurrect his career, but for me, like I said, 6 wins, possibly 7. I think they'll be in a lot of close games, but they won't have the finishing factor.
I like the point you made on Chuba Hubbard. He played very well in a large role once Christian McCaffrey went down, which was very early in the season. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, last year there's good and bad. I think the good is that he proved that he has a lot of heart in the sense that he was out there every game playing in an immense amount of pain. And that's something to not, take lightly. But at the same time, because of the injury to the shoulder, he could not perform. And then you factor in the Odell drama, the injuries, and, his Cleveland team, who was a couple of plays away in 2020 from the AFC Championship, just a very disappointing year. And now his former team is in a whole, world of shit, trying to figure out what's going to happen in terms of the Deshaun Watson situation. There's a lot to be unpacked there. As far as Carolina goes, I like their defense. I will say that. I'm going to give this team, I'm going to say a record of 5-12, which I think will be good enough for 3rd in that division. I do think that they'll compete. I think they're going to play a lot harder. And even though it's only year 2 for Matt Rule, if things really get bad, year 3, similar to many first-time coaches, especially coming from the college game, that's going to be a make or break for him. But this team has a lot of talent on the defense, and I'm a firm believer that when your defense plays well, you're going to be in more games than not. And, Christian McCaffrey, if he's able to stay healthy, that's a generational talent. It's just the sad thing is he hasn't. And I do think, to your point, the Chuba Hubbard mix can take a little bit off his shoulders, and that's going to be necessary for them to just, be more competitive. And, he's an important guy, McCaffrey. You got to keep him healthy. 5-12, but they'll be in a lot of games.
Yeah, I think their defense can only take them so far. And that division, the way the offenses are geared, even Atlanta's offense. I mean, granted, you have Mariota throwing the ball, but they still have a pretty solid offense. Ridley's coming back. You still got Kyle Pitts.
Ridley's out for the year.
Yeah, Ridley
He's out for the year.
Yeah, because of the whole gambling scheme.
Oh shit!
He's suspended all year next year.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's that idea. All right. Well, Atlanta's offense is going to shit the bed then, but you still got New Orleans offense, and of course Tampa's offense, which will probably put up 40+ points a game. So I don't know. It's kind of hard for Carolina to keep up with that. Yeah, I agree with Rich. Strong.
I think it is
strong 5 wins.
I think it has more to do with just possibly their inability to sustain drives. Like I said, so much hinges on whether or not Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy. And that remains to be seen because we have not seen it yet, not on any long-term basis. Getting it over to the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons, last year finishing 3rd to the tune of a record of 7-10. They did miss the playoffs, Key additions: Drake London out of USC, Arnold Ebiketie, quarterback Desmond Ridder. These were all via the draft. Obviously, key loss, former league MVP Matt Ryan. He signed with the Indianapolis Colts, who I believe are a Super Bowl contender right now. We spoke on them earlier in the week on our AFC South show. Cordarrelle Patterson, can he duplicate what he did last year? I'm not 100% sure about that. I'll be very honest. I'm a little pissed that Yahoo in our fantasy league doesn't have him listed as a running back and a receiver anymore. I do believe that actually hurts his draft stock just a little bit. Drake London was intriguing where they picked him. I like him, but I don't think that he should have went that high. That was a little head-scratching, to say the least. You mentioned Mariota earlier. I don't believe that he'll be in the mix come week 4. I think they're going to realize what Tennessee.
I was going to say week 6. I mean, Mariota hasn't started a game since October of 2019.
Mixed packages. You could bring him in certain packages, similar to what they did with him and Tanny up in Tennessee. But this is just not a very good football team. I'm going to be very honest, and I think this team would be lucky to win 4 games. I really mean that. I think that they're going to have to fight just to maybe get a win in this division, and that win will probably be against, I'm going to say the Saints, believe it or not, because they have a history with the Saints where those games tend to be entertaining. I'm going 4-13. This team is going to be in for a long season, but they're going to have a high draft pick next year. One solid bright spot, I think Kyle Pitts is going to have an amazing season, entering top 5, and not only fantasy purposes but also NFL tight ends. I think Kyle Pitts takes a big step this year, and he's going to have to because he's going to be someone they lean on every week.
I 100% agree with that.
For me, Atlanta this year, you said a key word there, high draft pick. To me, just there's nothing that I can rave about this team. Yeah, Kyle Pitts, he's for the future. Drake London, he's got a very high ceiling. I see why they picked him where they picked him. I mean,
I was a little surprised, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were, but when you also look at how he performed in college and what he's doing in camp right now, you kind of see the reason why he was picked so high. It's going to be interesting to see the Twin Towers in Atlanta, how defenses are going to cover that, because you have 2 really tall receivers that can move. So that'll be intriguing. And not to mention Cordarrelle Patterson, like you said, I mean, the guy plays running back, plays receiver. I think he's going to continue to have a strong role. Will he be able to duplicate what he did last year? I think he can, because I think he finally found his home, that he's not just a receiver. I think the way they utilize him.
Just as a receiver, he would get phased out because
phased out.
He works better when he can be that double threat. And it's been a emerging theme in the NFL. I mean, you saw the 49ers put it on full blast with Deebo Samuel last year. On a smaller scale in Miami, Jalen Waddle as well. But it is definitely happening more and more in different franchises now, where the dual threat of players who can be traditional receivers or vice versa.
He's been an X factor on every single team he's been on. You know what I mean? Like, he was with the Pats there. He was in special packages and certain plays, and they use him in a lot of different ways. He's a very versatile ball player that you can literally put anywhere on the offensive side of the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
So I mean, he's a great player to have in your team, and just it depends how you're going to utilize him.
Yeah,
our boy Idris just mentioned. Sorry, I couldn't make it, fellas. Still at work, but I see Mr. Coors Light is there. I'm assuming he's talking about you, Bretsky. Idris,
he needs to get his shit right. It's Bud Light, scumbag.
He's coming for you, bro. A start bench cut to be determined. Idris, do you want to talk any shit about our preseason game? If you do, chime in on that. Tyrod Taylor looked pretty good tonight.
He did. I mean, It's the first preseason game.
I know. I don't want to veer too much.
But no, now going back to Atlanta, their defense, nothing really screams out at you about that defense except for AJ Terrell and even Richie Grant. You know, Richie Grant's a nice safety, a nice UCF product. But if I'm the Falcons, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling teams that need a defensive tackle, and I'm offering Grady Jarrett.
You got to, dude, because this team is not going anywhere right now.
No, and they're going to have
get
a top
younger and less expensive because this is going to be a team built on the future. They could be good in 3 or 4 years.
They can. Next year's draft class is quarterback heavy.
Yes,
so
sir.
Desmond Riddler to me is not the answer. I mean, yes, he had his moments at Cincinnati. He looked good at times, and others he didn't. But whether he'll transition to the NFL game is yet to be determined. But then you look at all these quarterbacks that are coming out, and it's for Atlanta. It's like it's not a tank season because I don't think they're going to need to try to tank. I think they're just going to be that bad. But they'll definitely be able to get their future quarterback. And if you go out and trade Grady Jarrett for a late first or even a second or third, you can start getting key pieces to build around. I mean, you've already got your tight end, you've got your receiver. Hell, the running back class next year is deep. Go get yourself a running back and build the defense after that. I mean, like you said, this team is a 3 to 4 year away team. It's going to be a rough road for them this year. I find it hard to believe that they're going to be in many games. You know, for that team mentally, I think ever since that collapse in Dallas that I attended, they have never really bounced back.
Since the collapse in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
If you take it back that far. Yeah, you take it back that far.
They haven't been able to recover since then.
The next season, if I'm not mistaken, the next season, Julio Jones 3 times corner of the end zone. They couldn't find him. It is crazy too. You know, we're going to touch on the Bucs in a few minutes, but Julio gets to see the Falcons twice now.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, and I'm really expecting him to have one big game, not both.
And I do tend to think that it's going to happen in that dome. I'm sorry. It just kind of is a story that kind of tells itself.
Yeah, it won't be a bad thing. It's something that the fans are going to appreciate and take in. But, yeah, I mean, it's just when you look at their roster from top to bottom, you don't see many names that scream, oh, this team easily wins 10 games. I can't even find 4 wins on their schedule.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I have them going 3-14. I've gone through their schedule a few times, and it's just hard to find wins for them. And, I mean, there's a laundry list of reasons. Hey, the good thing is they have one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Yeah.
So if they're in close games, they can at least rely on his leg. But, I mean, they're not going to be in close games.
They're a bad football team. And, they have a legitimate.
I think we've spent enough time talking about them.
Well, I mean, they have a realistic chance to get themselves a 3 to 5 pick, and in a quarterback-rich draft. That's what you do. You go get your quarterback. If for some reason they think Ritter is the guy, you trade that pick. But I don't see why they should or would, especially if they're in tank mode. Idris doesn't feel they should tank. I tend to disagree with Idris.
No, I don't think they're in tank mode, but
I don't think they're in tank mode either. But I think they'll be able to win games.
We'll talk about this at Halloween, and we'll rediscuss where these guys are.
But
tank.
I believe, like you said, I think they can very well be the number 1 pick in next year's draft. That's how bad I could see them going.
Yeah. I actually think Seattle, if they don't get a quarterback upgrade, could be that team. But, you know, time will tell. I actually think the Texans, who a lot of people off the rip might say, oh, they're going to be the worst team in the league. I don't necessarily think so. 5-12, Idris Salam. That's his pick.
Got 3-14 for
and his thoughts. And his thoughts on Julio doesn't have to be the man either. I appreciate Idris being able to chime in, even though he's still stuck at work. We're going to move it along. to a team that has a better chance of possibly being one of the wild cards? I don't think so, but they will have an opportunity to be one. Last year, they were in it till the end. Offensively anemic at the end of the year. You know, they had Ingram starting games. Kamara was dinged up. I don't believe Kamara is going to be suspended. Things seem to be trending in that way that he's not going to be suspended. Got a quality player from the New York Jets, Marcus May, and their defense was pretty good last year. You know, they were able to get the better of Tom Brady and the Bucs twice. Former Buccaneer, free agent. I wouldn't call it an addition, but, you know, bringing him back, he was a free agent. Jameis Winston was playing good football before he was injured. I like what they did in the draft as well, but this is a team that a lot of it's going to hinge, I believe, on the health of Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas, I don't expect him to be the player he was 2 years ago, but he's also going to be needed to help these younger guys. Kamara is a great player. You know, he does everything. But you lose Sean Payton. That is a massive loss. I like their defense. I think they have a playoff defense. I'm just not convinced that they have a leader that can get them to the playoffs on the other side of the ball in Jameis Winston. You know, he was playing well, but it was also September going into October when he had that unfortunate injury to his knee. 7-10 for this team. 8-9 best case scenario. But I'm still going to give them their annual win over the Bucs. I think they're going to split with the Bucs.
Yeah, and I think their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. You know, some key players they added. You know, Matthews from Kansas City. You know, he's their starting free safety now. I think. Did they add Jarvis Did they bring Jarvis Landry over? Yeah. So, I mean, he's a key part to the offense, but I actually agree with you, Rich. But Michael Thomas, I mean, he hasn't played in a while. I don't know what kind of conditions that, you know, he's in. And, you know, Jameis is notorious for turning the ball over. And in that division, especially against the Bucs, you can't do it. You know, but I mean, yeah, their defense can only keep them in games, you know, so much. But
I love this comment.
Which
I didn't
one?
mean to interrupt you, Brett. Just hang with me 1 second on that thought. Saints, I see possibly 8 games. It depends on Thomas and crab legs. Shout out Publix. Those crab legs are pretty damn good. That's referencing.
Yeah,
that's referencing the 5-finger discount some years ago from their current quarterback. Hey, you know, what are you gonna do? I'm sorry, Brett. You continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that shit.
No, you're good, dude. Yeah, I mean, with Jameis, I mean, and unless he changes his way, and he's not. His decision-making process is still a development. He's still not making the right choices when he's throwing the ball. You know, same thing. Maybe 9 wins, 8 wins, but as far as them being a wild card, absolutely not. I think they're still going to be in second place in the NFC South, but wild card.
Which isn't saying much this year.
Yeah, no, I don't.
They gotta win. They gotta win 9 games to have a chance at that wild card. I do think this particular year, the NFC, more so than other years, is very top-heavy. You have a lot of mediocre to bad teams, but your premier teams are all legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
Well, the one thing they have working for them is Dennis Allen, their old defensive coordinator turned head coach. You know, he was the guy that shut down Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady is 0-4 against him in regular season. You know, you know what I mean. So, and now,
got the better
so
of him.
now he's the head coach. You know, so I'm not quite sure, you know, if he's going to be making the calls on the defensive side of the ball, but you know,
make a mention of this quickly.
He was the main key to beating the Bucs in the regular season. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. I think that's the only thing they really got going for him.
Yeah, you make a good point about that. And I said this team does have a good defense, and that will keep them in games.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kamara, as Idris said, if he's suspended, they will struggle. That goes without saying. I don't believe he's going to be suspended. That will be revealed. It's crazy. You speak about, he beat them 4 times in the regular season, the 1 loss in the playoffs in 2020.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the best pass thrown in that game was by Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Go figure that shit
Yeah.
out. Football can be a funny game sometimes. They play the Bucs tough. I'm going to give them that. But, health obviously is a key. We got to see what Michael Thomas brings after that rough injury. That obviously is going to speak a lot on that. But I do like their roster. I just don't think they're a playoff team right now. I think it's going to take a couple of years.
So I think that I'm disagreeing with both of you guys. I think the New Orleans Saints do not get enough credit. And I say that because at one point last year they were 5-2. And then Jameis Winston tears his ACL. The game against Atlanta and Tennessee, they lost by 2 points with Trevor Siemian as their quarterback. If Jameis Winston plays those 2 games, they win that, and their record is 11-7 or 11-6 instead of 9-8 last year.
Yeah, but you also had Sean. You also had Sean Payton calling the plays. Different thing when you have that guy in the sideline.
Yeah, but I mean, Sean Payton. I think we could all agree that his style of play was more suited towards Drew Brees and not Jameis Winston. So we can eliminate that part of Sean Payton. Now, while he was a great head coach, he was a great Drew Brees head coach. Jameis Winston, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. Last year, he wasn't making bad choices. I mean, he had 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He was playing good football. He needed a change of scenery after his 30 for 30 he had with Tampa Bay.
30 for 30.
30 for 30.
I mean, the Saints team, this Saints team, they were in the playoff race till the very end. They get Jameis back. Yes, I think Mike Thomas is going to come back stronger. However, I think Mike Thomas is going to be used as trade bait. I mean, the drafting of Chris Olave kind of tells me you're ready to move on from Mike Thomas.
Yeah, similar to what happened to Devontae Parker in Miami. Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got phased out with Waddle, and then they spend the money on Tyreek Hill. Yeah, kind of. I see where you're going with that.
It's there's some question marks.
Cedric Wilson also is over there now.
And then you got to remember Kamara missed 4 games last year.
Yes, that did hurt them.
That hurt them, and those were the 4 games he missed. They were in those games.
Give me 5 seconds.
So that for me, the Saints. I see a lot of positives with the season line on the health of Mike Thomas, the quarterback play of Jameis Winston, and what is probably going to be a suspension by Alvin Kamara is that this year and next year we don't know what it's going to be. It's probably not going to be this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to get tagged next year for that because of how backed up some of the cases are, and this not being nearly as serious as, say, the Deshaun Watson situation. But there will be some penalty. I just don't think it's going to pertain to this year. I think we agree on that part.
And I really hope he doesn't get suspended either because, I mean, that guy knew what he was doing, egging him on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel if you're defending yourself, like similar to what happened to Tyson on the plane, anybody crazy enough to go mess with Mike Tyson deserves what they're going to get. And I don't even think Kamara's situation was nearly as violent as the Mike Tyson thing. But, we're going to find out how the NFL handles this. Because one thing about the NFL, when they handle discipline, it's like throwing dice on the floor.
The fuck out of here.
There's
NFL discipline.
There's no consistency.
Get out of here.
Yeah, there's no consistency with any of it. But Alvin Kamara doesn't strike me as a punk by any means. A guy I actually have a lot of respect for. And I honestly do believe he was defending himself, but that will be revealed.
Yeah, I do too. But no, I mean, just for me, looking at the NFC, I think it's pretty clear I think we've all come in agreement with the 7 teams will be in the playoffs. However, I think the Saints are that one team that can sneak in. I have them finishing with 10 wins this year. I think they're going to be, and I think a lot of it has to do with their defense. I think their defense is going to be great, as usual. I think it also has to do with the fact that if James is healthy, they'll be fine. They have a favorable schedule. They really do. I mean, they do have to go to San Francisco and Tampa Bay back-to-back. But that's when it's in December when it's.
They also play Atlanta and Carolina twice each.
Yeah, I mean, their schedule is not too rough. A lot of
those are trap games, though. Those are games where the
sometimes
familiarity with division, the familiarity within your division, no matter what division you play in, they're always going to be somewhat tough because there's a familiarity there. And I can see New Orleans doing some shit where they would pick up a surprise win against the Bucs. Then maybe shit the bed against Carolina. It happens. It's hard to get up for a game like that, especially. And, New Orleans has answered the bell to a level. I mean, dude, last year, wins over the Packers and the Bucs twice, but no playoffs. And, you made a good point on different reasoning on why they didn't make the playoffs. We'll find out. I'm still not completely sold on Jameis all the way. I need to see more.
I'm not either.
Playing well before the.
I'll
give him that.
Yeah, like I'm not. I mean, I'll stay optimistic with him, but you know what I mean. I don't know. He still hasn't shown me that he can make that next step and go into that next level. You know what I mean? Like
he hasn't played at that level deep. Getting you hurt happens. I need to see more before I could co-sign that.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year lost in the divisional round, a game that turned from a blowout to an instant classic. They won the NFC South. Couple of plays. If Todd Bowles, the current head coach, doesn't call that zero blitz, I actually believe that they would have been in the title game and ultimately would have played the 49ers. That didn't happen. Rams were able to edge out the 49ers after failing the previous 2 times. Key additions, Julio Jones and a recently injured Russell Gage. My understanding is that the Gage leg injury, which happened in a dual practice between them and the Miami Dolphins, should not cost him any playing time in terms of the season. To be honest, Gage is a 4th option at best anyway. Key loss, tight end Rob Gronkowski due to retirement. I like the Julio pickup. But I will say this. Julio has had a hard time staying healthy. And in the event that Julio misses time like he has during his last few years in Atlanta, I do think that in that regard, other guys have to step up. They're pretty deep in those 3 and 4 receivers, guys that Brady can help just look better. He's proven that even last year with the AB situation and with the injuries. Brady was throwing to a lot of guys he didn't have any experience with and was still getting results. His team's very deep, but I don't care what anybody says. You lose a guy like Rob Gronkowski, you're not just losing the catches and the touchdowns in the red zone. You're losing a great blocker.
You're using the blocking. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just a great guy in the locker room.
My take on Julio, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a 3-headed monster, but Julio doesn't have to be the number 1. You know what I mean? Like he's more of a contingency plan. You know what I mean? Like he can be a 3rd down wide receiver. You know what I mean? Certain packages, certain yardage. He doesn't have to be in. He doesn't.
Brought him in to catch a decent amount of footballs that Gronkowski's not going to catch.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to. They have 3 other solid tight ends. 2 other, superstar receivers and Godwin and Evans. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Brady, he has the weapons. I mean, Julio I think he'll be like a security blanket. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's got the hands to do it. But he doesn't he doesn't need to be there. He doesn't need to be on every down to do it, is my thing.
He's gonna see the field quite a bit, though, being the 3rd receiver. And like I said, the departure of Gronkowski, there's catches to be had by other guys. They did pick up Kyle Rudolph, formerly of the Vikings and Giants. Former Norton, great hands. The man rarely drops a pass.
He's a red zone threat.
But red zone threat for sure. Red zone threat for sure. But that obviously at OJ Howard is currently with the Buffalo Bills. He's moved on from them as well. They're going to be hurting a little bit at tight end. I will say that. And that is something that has been a staple with these Buccaneer teams, even going back to when Jameis was the quarterback. Defensively, still a top 10 unit. I tend to think that sometimes this team has discipline and concentration lapses, whether it be stupid penalties, things of that nature. But from a talent standpoint, their defense is damn good. And they are returning most of the core from the last two seasons, and the last two seasons were good. They won a division title last year, and the year before they won the Super Bowl as well.
Your boy JPP.
Yeah, JPP, career resurgence for sure, definitely playing.
I think, they're number one, they're heavy favorites to win the division, but they're also favorites to make it to the big dance. And
for sure.
They are 100%. I mean, TB, he's 45. He actually, I think he's not in training camp. He's going to be out, personal reasons. After the second preseason game, but they knew that going into training camp. Like Tom Brady, I guess, just wanted 2 weeks worth of working with the boys, developing some kind of chemistry, and then he was going to cut out for a couple weeks after that, I guess. But yeah, he's
at his age, you give him a different kind of rope.
Oh yeah,
because he knows if that man knows anything, it's how to master getting through a season, with the exception of the unfortunate injury after going 18-1 when they were a heavy Super Bowl favorite in 2008. The man has been healthy. The only other time you could really chronicle him not being able to play was when the Steelers knocked him out of the title game going all the way back to 2002, January. Very long time ago. Last time.
Is Zappy getting yelled at? What's going on over there?
I hope
No,
so.
I'm not getting yelled at. Let me start with this, guys.
Yeah.
When was the last time Tom Brady started 0-2?
Oh God! The year he won the Super Bowl.
The year he won.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Tom Brady didn't start off 0-2. That was Drew Bledsoe.
No.
Drew Bledsoe was long gone, but
no. When Brady was with the Bucs, they started off 0-2. His first season.
0-2?
Yeah.
With the Bucs.
Yeah. His first season.
You sure about that? 2020? Yeah. Hold up. Why don't I recall that?
So
actually, they started off. I think
the Bucs. He started
1-3.
With the Patriots, he started off 0-2, and it was that big loss to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And Tom Brady and at home. Tom Brady and the Patriots. That
was the Thursday nighter. That was a Thursday nighter against Alex. That was against Alex Smith, actually.
Yes.
They got fucking blown out.
They got blown out. They were 0-2 to start the year, and what happens? They make the Super Bowl. Now, let's fast forward to today. And I'm just talking about Tom Brady right now, and that's going to carry me over to everything else. So the last time he started off 0-2, he made the Super Bowl and won. This year, their two first games are at Dallas and at New Orleans. 2 games they can easily lose and 2 games they can easily win.
1-1.
And it'd probably be 1-1, and it's probably
going to lose the Dallas game, even though I'll be rooting for them. They're going to lose the Dallas game.
There's a lot of factors to look at this. Now, Tom Brady is also 2,431 yards away from 100,000 career passing yards. That includes postseason. We're talking about the first quarterback in NFL history to have 100,000 yards passing. You want to tell me Rob Gronkowski does not want to be a part of that? He's coming back.
He ain't coming back.
Matthew Acosta.
He ain't coming back, buddy. He ain't coming back.
Bucs are starting 0-1.
Oh, Matt knows.
He ain't, dude. Zap, he ain't coming
I
back.
tend to agree, and I'm being fair. I mean, of course, I want the Cowboys to lose Week 1. They're their division rival. But after last year, they should have beat them. Yeah.
As much as Gronk wants to be there on Brady's farewell tour, which may not happen this year,
Gronk's done, guys.
Gronk has been through enough, man. That guy has he's had more surgeries than freaking, Frankenstein. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
and he's probably passed more STDs too.
The guy is he's full of metal, bro. He goes through an airport and he's gonna beep off.
It's about having a good time.
No, it's really hard to see. I think I could see Gronk coming back this year. You can't tell me Cameron Brate and Kyle Rudolph.
He ain't coming back.
Either way, you can't tell me Cameron Brate and Kyle Rudolph are your answers at tight end.
I made that clear. I don't feel that good about that.
But here's one thing you guys have not talked about with the Bucs. Their interior offensive line, 3 new starters. And they just lost Ryan Jensen for the year. Yeah,
Ryan Jensen is already banged up. And that was an issue last year too. Touchdown Lenny showed up heavy. He's gotten his weight back under control. That could have been an issue going in.
But here's my thing with that. Zap, you made a great point about the offensive line. Brady, at 45 years old, still has one of the quickest releases in the game. Less than 2.5 seconds to get rid of that ball.
Oh, no question about that.
The offensive line, don't get me wrong, it's a big part of it. It's a big part of Fournette, big part of the play action. Agree with all that. But when you have a quick release and the way his mechanics are, dude, sometimes the offensive line doesn't really come into play.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about strictly for the running reasons. This team is going to have to be balanced, and they're going to be balanced. Yeah, and that
depends
too.
Who you're playing too.
If you're
it matters if you're looking at Aaron Donald.
Yeah, if you're looking at Aaron Donald, you're not going to sit there and say, 2.3 seconds.
Oh, you're an Aaron Donald fan now?
Oh, I'm
a realist fan.
Yeah.
Look, you get on Tom Brady's fucking schlong for a second.
Yeah, well, if he's teabagging Tom Brady, then he can quickly grow on me.
You know what? Tampa Bay's countermeasure, well, they'll put Ndamukong Suh on the offensive line.
Well, see, that's the other thing. Ndamukong Suh and JPP are not Buccaneers.
He hold every play, dude. That dude does not know how to not have an infraction. He'd be holding every play.
No, but Ndamukong Suh is not a Buck. You guys got to remember that. JPP is not a Buck anymore. They're both free agents sitting at home. Ndamukong is going to sign here in the next couple of weeks. I can almost guarantee that. Is it back with the Bucs? I want to say yes, but at the same time, they did bring in Akeem Hicks. So that tells me they've moved on from Ndamukong. I can't find many weaknesses with this team. Yeah,
JPP will be back. JPP will be back.
And it's possible. But
he signed the for himself? I don't know, but he's going to sign.
But as far as the rest of the team, I mean, you really can't find any weakness along this team. But this does seem like the Tom Brady farewell season. He's going to get the 100,000 yards passing. The dude's 45. He has always been quoted as saying he wanted to play till he was 45. He's going to ride off into the sunset.
Last year, they were the number one ranking offense in the league. He threw for over 5,000 yards.
Second,
you're telling me
Dallas is
who was
number one last year. Dallas.
You sure about that?
Yes.
So confident. I love it. All right, let's say number 2. But he still threw over 5,000 yards.
Well, now he's got
Julio.
After the way last year ended, you better celebrate that stat.
And now he's got Julio. Like, I don't know, man. The guy, he's going to have another 5,000 yards, if not almost 5,000 yards.
And he plays in the right division to do that shit because when you're playing the Falcons, especially, that's like fucking arena football. The way that they run up scores. But I'm gonna go with solid. I'm gonna go with solid 13-4 for the 2 seed.
I already told you who my 2 seed is. I have them 13-4 as well, but I have them as a number 1 seed. I have them making it to the NFC title game, and I have them winning Tom Brady his last Super Bowl. I don't see them collapsing against the Rams again. I think they get the Rams this time. Yeah.
And in the NFC title game, they're going against the Rams?
Where is she?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Where is who?
Well, they're a little far to the side.
Heather, this is my sister Maxine, and I'm sorry.
Somebody that has the Rams number is going to take care of the Rams for the Bucs. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Because
We talked about that already.
Wasn't in the Rams' way last year, which helped the Rams make the Super Bowl.
I saw your manager.
But that's how it goes sometimes. 13-4. I got them as the 2 seed,
Take the day off to nurse her back down. You're feeling just
and I got them
I'm getting so much.
winning the NFC.
Here goes my.
Yep.
Okay.
It's hard to argue against them not. I mean, yeah, the Rams are the defending Super Bowl champs. Yes, they got better on paper. But
And no disrespect to the Rams, but they caught every conceivable break you can catch in terms of opponents.
and
I'm
sometimes
not going to tell you that the 49ers are an easy out. I mean, you saw what they did against your team. They earned that shit. Look what they did to Green Bay. But I think it's very easy to say that the best 2 teams were not in the Super Bowl last year. And I don't mean any disrespect to either one of those teams. But that's how the playoffs break sometimes. I mean, it was a weird playoffs last year. 2 1 seeds falling in their first playoff games. That shit doesn't happen maybe but once a decade.
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised last year.
Well, I mean, shit, dude. The Tennessee Titans did everything conceivable to give that game away. You sack a man 8-9 times and don't win the fucking game. The Green Bay game, you made this point on previous shows. The weather favored the 49ers, and they used the weather and the elements to their advantage to bully Green Bay in their own yard. I do believe that Green Bay has done a few things to combat that going into the new year. But, we got the North show that's going to be dropping on the 17th. Any final thoughts you guys want to say before I pop my final thing here?
No, so just want to make mention. I don't know. I know we've been talking so much about the NFC South and everything. We're really keeping a close eye on the Deshaun Watson situation, but it has been said that he is willing to accept an 8-game suspension as well as a fine of $5 million. Of course, we already know Goodell is searching for that 1-year suspension. So I think it's possibly something that could be building towards a 12-game suspension at the end of the day. But it's just, I thought it was really interesting that all of a sudden Deshaun Watson's team came out and said, yeah, we'll accept an 8-game and a $5 million fine. And
because it's still getting off cheap in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. So that's where I think we might not see the full year, but we might see the 12-game and go from there.
Not really a bold prediction here, but this is not Tom Brady's send-off season.
Oh, for the love of God, dude.
All right.
This is it.
Oh, that's the other reason why. Illegal tampering with the Miami Dolphins.
Thank you,
That's
Zap.
the reason why this is his last year.
Thank you, Zap.
I'll leave
He's
it at
going to
that.
pull a Vince McMahon and off.
You think that's why he's taking time off?
No,
I think that's why he's going to retire finally.
retire. Yeah, everything's building up for his retirement.
I tend to agree with Zappy, and the NFL loves his storylines. I'm not even going to go there.
The illegal
Yeah,
tampering.
he ain't done, boys. He ain't done.
Oh God, enough, dude.
He ain't done, baby. You heard it. He ain't done.
Is that now? Are we still relying on you to draft Andrew Luck?
No, he said they go for Des Bryant again.
Oh, you're gonna go for Dez as well?
What you got against these nuts?
Had the best draft position last year with the best draft picks after trades made the previous year. Could not even finish in second 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th place, my friend Brett.
Hey, I had a fire sale come week 8.
You have a fire sale every year.
No, I don't. Don't worry, baby. I'm coming for you this year.
You don't want to come from me.
No, fuck that. I'm coming for Don. Fuck that guy. Fuck Don. He got lucky the past 2 years. I say we all fucking just piss on him.
I bet you just beat him I bet you just draft well for the first time in 5 years. Maybe that would help that.
Oh, yeah, because you did so much better.
Brett, 2 years in a row, I got knocked out in the final week of the season. We've been a doormat for the better part of 3 years.
Okay, pal.
NFC South greats keeping it on defense. Simeon Rice, Patrick Kearney, Kevin Green, Ricky Jackson. Any thoughts you guys want to add to these players? Or if you don't really want to add anything,
I mean,
get the fuck out of here.
We could talk Warren Sapp, one of the best interior defensive linemen to ever play the game. We could talk Derek Brooks.
Question.
Derek
Brooks for sure. I was kind of theming it on guys that would got a decent amount of sacks.
Well, I mean, yeah, Kevin Green with the Panthers for sure, but I mean, I kind of see him as more of a Steeler than I do a Panther.
I see him more as a
I don't know
than anything else.
I see him more as a guy who's in WCW.
It's weird.
No, I mean, here, I'll say this though, Rich.
I mean, what about Steve Smith?
What about him? He plays defense?
No, I'm just saying this is just an NFC South great. I mean,
that goes without saying, Brett. I'm trying to make people think for a second.
I'll say this: if you have Ray Lewis as your grade for Baltimore, then it's hard to argue not having Derek Brooks on there because him and Ray Lewis and Brooks were neck and neck career wise. Obviously, Ray,
no, for sure.
So if we're talking strictly sacks, then yeah, Simeon Rice. It's really hard to argue anyone else. As far as Atlanta goes,
John Lynch.
Yeah,
John Lynch.
Give me the white John Lynch. Yeah, it's so yeah, for the Falcons defensively, John Abraham, you could put it on
Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders. I mean, if you're talking sacks, John Abraham was great at getting to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I want to mention something about Deion in Atlanta. I understand that the legend of Deion is there and all of that. I'll be honest, it was his shortest tenure of any team besides when he came back as number 37 with the Ravens. 1994 Deion Sanders, in my genuine opinion, was the best version of Deion you will ever see. And no offense, Zap, I know that he helped you guys win the bowl, and he was so damn important to the 49ers. His departure really made sure that you guys would not lose to them a second straight year. I feel that the best version of Deion was that one season with the 49ers.
Hey.
No knock on what he did in Atlanta.
Zap.
No, You're right.
I saw Primetime live in 1992.
I saw Primetime live. I saw
in Buffalo
live preaching at my church in 1999, I believe it was.
Yeah, 1992 in Buffalo. They got smoked by Buffalo. It was like 41-14, but Deion scored. He had a pick six that game. Believe it or not.
I saw him live in Yankee Stadium.
Oh, wow!
Inside the park home run in a game where Bo Jackson hit 3 home runs. Bo was trying to steal Deion's homer. You know, trying to make a play, I should say.
Right.
Bo actually hurt himself on the play. Deion rounded them all. The last guy to wear 21 with the New York Yankees, or at least the most notable guy to wear 21 with the New York Yankees before Paul O'Neill. Come to think of it, he was the last guy to wear 21 before Paul O'Neill. Dion, just supreme athlete. Incredible what he did in his career.
And you made a great point. 94 was his best season. That's what got him the contract he got in Dallas.
No question.
I'm not arguing that point whatsoever. There's a reason why the Niners won the Super Bowl. They needed a Dion to stop a Michael Irvin because the Cowboys had to own the 49ers in years past. I mean, the Cowboys were going for a three-peat. Dion's there. They win the NFC title game, go on.
And Emmett hurting his shoulder also helped.
Helped.
Their course.
But, I mean, Steve Young in the Super Bowl, Steve Young, get the monkey off my back.
Yeah.
Dion was very instrumental to that team winning the Super Bowl against the Chargers. And then
he meant more to the Niners than he did to the Cowboys.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it was already questionable if they could beat you with him. And it took a lot of things to go their way to beat you in that title game that year. Mm-hmm. A lot of things. And Emmett being hurt was one of them. Just a really shit start, uncharacteristic of your team in the 90s, championship pedigree. The interceptions, just, a couple of mixed up routes that they ran. It was just one of the worst starts to a playoff game in your team's history. You guys recovered, almost came back, but it was their year. It happens. And
well,
it happens.
I mean, I think we could also look at one other thing. I know it's getting off topic about the NFC South, but that was also Barry Switzer's first year coaching Jimmy Johnson's team. If Jimmy Johnson is coaching in that 1994 title game, we're making the Super Bowl.
I actually forgot that because for some reason, I always thought that Switzer's first year was in 95 when they won the bowl. I actually forgot that. I actually forgot that. I did not recall that Switzer was that dude that year. We're going to get out of here. We're going to continue to talk for a bit. I appreciate you guys watching. August 17th, we will be dropping the NFC North, and later in that week, the AFC North. Having a great time doing these divisions. Football is officially back. And like anything else, when it comes to these preseason games, my biggest hope, of course, you want to see how your team looks from a deeper level because you get to look at, guys on your team that are there for depth, guys that are really fighting for their lives to make the squad. And that's what makes the preseason fun. But, above all else, I don't want to see any injuries. I want to see all these teams at their best strength because, we watch the games to see the best guys play. So, and I'm sure we all share that sentiment. We want these guys to stay healthy. Until next time, I am Richie. He is Zappy. He is Brett. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We are out.
I'm going to